will start soon, so we'll see. Okay, everybody. Well, thank you for joining us today for Google Classroom for Parents. I wanted to start with a few ground rules. If you could keep your mics muted for the entirety of the session. And Mrs. Smye is actually going to be fielding the chat window. So if you have questions, go ahead and type them in. We will stop from time to time so that Mrs. Smye can address those questions. And I think that's really all you need to know about our protocols right now. So
how do I mute it?
Oh, there's a little button down at the bottom. Like, you're on your iPhone? Yeah, there you go. You got it. You got it. So I'm actually going to present to you my screen so you can see what I'm doing, and I'm going to walk you through a few things. So give me a second to do that. You're actually going to be able to see yourselves for a second here. So it should say you're presenting on your screen, right? And you should be able to see my Google Classroom slideshow. So I'm actually going to use this as a reference, but you can get to Google Classroom in multiple ways. And actually, let me just back up for a second here. So we're going to go over everything. How do you log in? How do you add or join a class? What does the parent report look like? How to navigate in Classroom, the different types of assignments that you can do in Google Classroom, how to turn in your assignments, and then, of course, how to contact the classroom teacher. So how do you log in? Now, all you need to log into Google Classroom is a web browser, Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Safari, whatever works. And if you're not on a Chromebook or you're not in Google like I am now, you just type classroom.google.com. However, Google has created all these shortcuts for you. So if you log into your Chromebook, you're automatically logged into your Google account. And then up here where my picture of myself is, you should be logged in. And then all you have to do is click on the little waffle board right there. And you can click right on Classroom this way as well. Either way, you need to be signed in to your Google account to access Google Classroom. Now, as you can see, I'm in lots of Google Classrooms. Mrs. Smye and Mrs. Fisher created this fake Google Classroom over here that we're going to spend most of our time in. But I want to point out that on this home page, there's a few things that can help you and your students. The first thing is if you need to join a classroom and your teacher gives you a class code, all you have to do is click on this plus sign up here, and it says create or join a class. You're going to join a class, and that's where you type in your class code. The other way that you might get invited to join a Google Classroom is an email invitation. And that's really simple. You just click on the link in the invitation, and it automatically adds you into it. Once you've been added to the Google Classroom, it will show up on your Google Classroom homepage, and maybe you'll have as many classrooms as I do. But moving on, the other nice thing about this is it actually shows you the due dates that's due today or tomorrow. And if you look at the fake Google Classroom that Mrs. Fisher has set up for us today, it says due tomorrow, my favorite book, and my favorite food choices. So I'm going to click into the Google Classroom, and this is our home page. There's 3 tabs on the Google Classroom homepage right up here at the top. You've got your stream, classwork, and people. Now, I want to just pause for a second and back up, because this is what the student sees. You have to be on a student account in our organization to be part of a Google Classroom for Heatley School. Now, if you are a parent, you might get an email that asks you to sign up for email updates. So you wouldn't necessarily have access to all of this on your personal account. You'd only have access to all of this on a student account. And our student accounts are always the first initial, last name, at student.greenisland.org. And if you need that information, we can get that to you pretty quickly. Just email me or Mr. Miller or your classroom teacher, and they can easily get you that information. But the parent report I want to show you, it's kind of cool. And I have some screenshots. So it actually shows you missed work, upcoming work, and it's all in one weekly summary, which is kind of nice. Now, some teachers are opting to use this, some teachers are opting not to. And I think Google must be in the middle of updating part of this, because I know Mrs. Fisher, when she created our fake Google Classroom, she didn't even have the option to invite me or invite a guardian for myself, because in this instance, I'm the student. But if you're interested in that, you should probably contact the classroom teacher. So I'm going to pause for a second. Mrs. Smyre, are there any questions so far that we need to address? Did I miss something? Or Mrs. Smyre, if you have anything you want to add?
It's Mrs. Ross. Just really quick, because Krista came a little late to seeing what you were doing. Can you just really quick show Krista where you went and accessed Google Classroom? Because I think she missed that piece.
Oh, hi, Krista. I didn't know you came in. That's awesome. Okay, so to access Google Classroom, you can go to classroom.google.com and just type it in. You need to be signed into your Google account. If you're not, it will actually ask you to sign in. If you are signed into your Google account, like if I just go to google.com, I can just click on this waffle board up here, the little squares, and I can click on the classroom icon, and it'll bring me to the same landing page for Classroom. Does that help,
Okay.
Mrs. Ross?
So I have questions because I'm learning.
Yeah,
so if I'm a parent, and I admit I've never used Google Classroom, so this is why I'm here today. If I'm a parent and I know my child has Google Classroom, and I go to where you showed me where the drop-down apps are, do I have to be logged into my Google account or my child's Google account?
That's actually a really good question. Thank you for saying that. It has to be your students, your child's Google Classroom, because they're the ones that are invited to the classroom, right? Not a parent personal account. We don't do parent accounts on the school domain. So it has to be the student account that's part of our Heatley school domain. Make sense?
Yep. Yeah, it makes sense to me. Like I said, I'm learning. I've got like my mom hat on. Like if I'm a parent and I want to help my student, these are the questions I would ask. Because my children are 30 and 27, so Google Classroom was not around. So I'm with you guys. I'm with you, Kathy and Chris. I want to learn too.
Perfect. No, I appreciate that. So I'm going to move on now. So we're going to talk about the stream for a second. The stream is kind of like your Facebook feed, your news feed. It hosts posts that were done in chronological order.
So I
go
have
ahead.
to get Liam's password from him.
Well, you could just have him log in on your device.
Okay.
Or yeah.
Okay.
Or you can have him share his password with you, of course. Yeah. There is no way, unfortunately, to invite people who are outside of the greenisland.org domain to join a classroom, but that's also what makes the Google Suite EdLaw 2D compliant with the privacy laws in New York State. So it's a double-edged sword. But yeah, you definitely need to be on a student's account. So you would definitely want Liam's password. All right, so I'm in my stream. And you can see over here on the left-hand side, I've got another reminder of upcoming due dates, which I've always really liked as a teacher and, you know, coming in as a student perspective here. And then if I scroll down, I've got a host of things going on here. I've got a question. Mrs. Fisher posted a new question. Would you like me to have a free pizza delivered? And I can't see what the rest of it says, but I'll come back to that. I've got a material, which is the anatomy of a guitar. And then I've got two assignments. I've got my favorite book and my favorite food choices. So those are the 3 different types of, I'm going to call them assignments that you can do in Google Classroom. But you could also just post like you would in your Facebook newsfeed on the stream. So I could say something like, "Hi, everyone. Hope you are having a good day." I could even add an attachment, and I can post it. Now, in some classes, the teacher will have it set up where everything that gets posted in the stream gets approved by them. And it really depends on the controls the teacher has set up when she set up her classroom. She can change those at any time. Same thing with the class comments. She has control over those as well. If they get posted automatically or if they have to be approved by him or her first, that's up to how the teacher sets up the classroom page. So now I'm going to move into the Classwork tab. Up here up at the top in the middle, we've got Classwork. This tab is all of those things just organized in a different way. So I've got my writing assignments, and Mrs. Fisher, when she set up this classroom, organized them in this way. In a different classroom, they might have different titles. Like this might say, if I was in 6th grade's classroom, this might say ELA, and then I might have a different category for math or science. It's just a different way of organizing the same thing that was on the stream. This is just the classwork. These are the things that I'm expected to do. And then at the bottom, we've got materials, but I'll get to that in a second. So the first thing we have is that question, right? We haven't done that yet. So I'm going to click View Question. And I've got, would you like me to have a free pizza delivered to your house? Now, I want to point out that this is worth 100 points, which is quite a lot for a question there, Mrs. Fisher. I can comment on it, but that's not actually going to answer the question. So I can comment and send that along, but that still doesn't answer my question. I've got to go over here to the right side to type my answer. Would I like to have a free pizza delivered to your house? I'm going to say yes. Now notice the turn in button has turned dark blue. So I can turn that in to Mrs. Fisher, and I'm done. That's how it's that easy. I can even see my classmate answers, but I don't have any classmates right now. Now that's a question. Some teachers have been using this as a way to keep attendance. So instead of would you like me to have a free pizza, it might say, are you attending class today? And you just reply, yes, you turn it in. And that's how people have been kind of tracking attendance while we've been on this remote learning hiatus. I'm going to go back to my classroom. And let's see. Yeah. All I did was hit the back button on my browser. Nothing fancy. I've got 2 other assignments due in here, right? I've got a favorite book and my favorite food choices. Now, I don't necessarily have to see those down there because Google has done this really handy thing and they've created this view your work button. So if I click that, it's going to show me all of the work that I need to do, what's been assigned to me. Now you can see that I turned in and I answered that first question, but I still haven't done these 2 things and they're due tomorrow. So let's click into those and see what they are. Let's see, is there a description? Oh, I can even talk to my teacher by a private comment. Thank you, Google. Please answer the questions in the attached document in no less than 25 words. Now, this assignment has a Google Doc attached to it. The nice thing about Google is as soon as I click into that document, it makes a copy of it for me. And look, it even added my name in the title of the document. So in the space below, please tell me what your favorite book is and why. 10 points. I'm going to just say my favorite book is Harry Potter because I like wizards. I'm just making this up. I'm done. Let's pretend I'm done. Up here in the right-hand corner, upper right-hand corner, I've got the turn in button. If I'm done, all I have to do to submit it back to my teacher is click the turn in button. And now my teacher can go in on Google Classroom and grade it right in Google Docs without having to print anything, without having to physically hand in anything to my teacher. I've already finished my work. So it's asking me, are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Mrs. Fisher, I believe your other assignment is pretty similar, correct? Let's see, I'm gonna go back.
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't.
So again, I'm going back to view my work. I've turned in my favorite book. I've got one more assignment, my favorite food choices. So let's see what this is. Please answer the questions in the attached document. Again, I'm clicking on the Google Doc. It's opening it up. The nice thing about Google too, if you've never used Google Doc or Google Suites before, is it automatically saves everything. So if my computer crashed right now, I wouldn't lose any of my work. I don't have to remember to save. It automatically saves. It's already in my drive. I can reference it later if I want to. Please answer the questions below. My favorite food, let's say it's chocolate. And my favorite place to eat out, I don't know. I'm going to say McDonald's because we go there a lot with the kids. I'm going to, again, hit that button up in the upper right-hand corner. I'm going to turn it in. It's going to ask me, am I sure? And I've got the right attachment. Yep, I do. I do. And I think I'm done. So I'm going to go click on fake Google Classroom to get back to my home page. And look, on the left-hand side under upcoming, it says, woohoo, no work due soon, because I did it all. I'm done. So I'm going to pause right there for a second because I know I went over that really fast. And I don't know if anybody wants to chime in with a question or if there was anything in the chat window, Mrs. Smythe. I'll just pause for a second.
No questions in the chat.
Perfect. Anybody have anything they want to ask about?
So Tiff,
Yeah,
it's Kim. So your PowerPoint in this recording will be up on the YouTube channel so that someone like me a day or two from now, when I go, oh shoot, what did Ms. DeCembo say? I can go back and look. That's
the plan. Yep. That's exactly what we plan to do. And I'll probably link it under Google resources under the instructional at-home learning instructional resources page on the website. So you'll be able to find it in multiple ways.
That's perfect because it's a lot to take in a few minutes. And once I get more comfortable with it, I'll find more ease with it. But I'm worried about a week from now, am I going to remember all the steps that you showed me?
Yeah, no, I understand. And you know, there are tons of YouTube tutorials on Google Classroom out there. What Google does is, in order to become a Google certified educator, you actually are required to create these tutorials on YouTube. So it's a pretty ingenious idea if you think about it, because they're promoting their product while also educating other people. I'm actually going to link everybody to one of those tutorials from a local teacher who teaches at Mahonison, actually. So there's lots of resources out there. And I am by no means the expert in this stuff. All right. I'm going to move on. I mean, I don't have much left, which is a good thing. Google Classroom is pretty streamlined and pretty straightforward. Once you start using it, you're going to get right into it and you won't have any problems. The only tab that I have yet to go over is the People tab. And the People tab in our fake Google Classroom isn't going to look very impressive because it's just me and Mrs. Fisher in this. But if you can see over here, I've got a little envelope. And it will open an email in my Gmail account so that I can email her if I click on this. I'm not going to do that right now.
I did notice you said that that they do, I guess, grade the papers. That was one thing, like with Liam. Can I check, like, the stuff if he has handed anything in. Can I check on if they've graded his stuff?
Yeah, there is now on the teacher account, there is a grading tab, but it's up to the teacher to activate that with the students.
Oh.
So I'd be really interested if when you log in to Liam's classroom, if you'd be able to see a grades tab up here at the top.
Okay.
And if the teacher is grading any assignments on here, they will show up, but keep in mind that right now we're not collecting any formal grades to put into our student management system. We're just tracking if assignments are complete or incomplete. So any grade that's in Google Classroom is really just for feedback purposes. It has no connection to our report cards or school tool. You know, in a regular school day, like before COVID-19 and the school closure happened, if I was a teacher and I was using Google Classroom for grades, I would have to also input them separately into school tool. So just keep that in mind. It's for feedback purposes only right now. But it's good feedback, right? Like who doesn't want to know how well they did on that assignment? We all want to know that. Yeah. So if the teacher's choosing to do that, that's great. If not, you can always email them and ask them, you know, how did Liam do on this, or what's the feedback? The cool thing about Google Docs too is that the teacher could put comments in his Google Doc that he submitted and then send it back to him with those comments. But I'm not going to get into that today on here because this is more about Google Classroom. Did I answer your question, Kathy? Kind of.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so I'm pretty sure I went over all of this stuff. I'm just gonna scroll down here to the end. So that was really quick, a really quick overview, but I do want to point you to some resources, and I will email these out to you, or I'll have Mr. Miller post them on our website as well. The first one is a YouTube channel for Mr. Vaca, who is, he teaches at Mahonison. He's got a lot of great quick YouTube tutorials on Google Classroom and Google products. The second one is the Google resources page that's on our website. And the last is actually the support page for Classroom, because Google actually has a really good support page. If you're unsure of what something does, or you have a question, you just go to the support page. You can type in your question just like you would in a Google search, and it usually is pretty accurate. I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen right now, and we're back to the video. So do we have anything going on in the chat room, Mrs. Smythe, that we can talk about before we wrap up here?
The only thing that was mentioned was just about certain teachers aren't keeping track of grades on Google Classroom. That was it.
Perfect. I know I went through that really fast. Are there any questions that pop into anybody's head right now that I can help address? My wait time is getting really good.
So Tiff, it's Kim. Is the question, Amy, that, and I have my chat open, that some teachers aren't putting grades in Google Classroom?
It just said that with her child that there weren't any grades in Google Classroom.
Oh, I see that. So the district is working on figuring out what kind of grading policy or how grades should look or will look. We should probably have some more guidance for parents. Tiff, I think we're going to talk about it tomorrow, and probably by Friday we'll know more based on what's going on regionally. And that do teachers normally post grades in Google Classroom?
From my experience, I personally, when I used Google Classroom, did not post grades because what I would have to do then is re-enter them into School Tool. So if I did put a grade in a Google Classroom, it was really just for a feedback purpose, but for the students. So it really depends on how much work the teacher wants to do.
For me, it depends on what the assignment is, because there are some assignments that I can grade through Google Classroom, and then other ones that it doesn't really make sense for me to, and it just makes sense to put it into School Tools.
Yeah, that's a good point too, Jen.
There are
Yes.
also sometimes teachers, if it's, I know when we were back in school and it was the regular situation that if it was a project, if it was something big to grade, I usually would wait until the weekend to grade it when I didn't want to rush through it. So some teachers just might not get to it right away. That might be why it's not in there either.
That's a good point.
So Tiff, with School Tool and parents being able to look in the parent portal, is that what, 7 through 12?
School Tool is K through 12, but I'm not sure how often elementary grades get put into School Tool.
So something we need to kind of figure out how we're going to communicate grades to parents so they can progress monitor that at home as well. For our younger friends. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, we are building the plane in the air.
Yeah,
Building the plane in the air. We'll figure it
know.
out.
That's true. That's true.
Tiff, you've done a great job.
Any last minute questions on Google Classroom before we wrap up here? I went through that really fast, so if you ever have any questions, feel free to email me or Mrs. Fisher or Mrs. Smythe. We've kind of earmarked Ms. Fisher and Mrs. Smythe as our Google Classroom experts for the teachers to reach out to, so you're more than welcome to reach out to them as well. And like we said, we recorded this. We're going to post this along with my little PowerPoint presentation on the YouTube channel and the website. So thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm going to stop recording if I can figure out how to do it. Here we go. Stop recording.